friends. I just want to do my February reading wrap up. Now, I accidentally did not do a mid-month wrap up because when I got home from my trip, I was just too exhausted to sit down and film. I probably should have, but at the time I neglected it a little bit. And I think I'm going to, going forward, except for the month of May, I'm going to try to do a mid-month wrap up because I don't remember these books that I'm talking about at the beginning of the month, so I want to go from there. I do want to start this book off with a DNF. I did want to DNFing Starling Nights by Merritt Nemwitz. This was a book that was from my Forbidden Wing, and I really do sometimes struggle with dark academia and thrillers, to be honest, but this one just did not hit for me. I read about 50 pages and I DNF'd it, so I'm going to put that on my Pango. I will try to remember to link my Pango below, but before we get into the actual books, I read 15 books in February, which is actually super exciting. I read 5,296 pages. I read an average of 170 pages per day. My average page count was 353, which is actually pretty accurate. I actually did read some chunky books this month. I read a lot of fantasy romance, to be very honest. I read 4 Book of Weps, 9 from authors I read before, and I hauled 4 books. I think I might have hauled a little bit more, but that is what I put on my spreadsheet. And then oh, you know what? Because they haven't come in the mail yet. I'm missing a couple of my fairy loots. That's why it's only 4. And then I read 5 5-star books, 0 4.5 star, 5 4, 3 3.5 star, and then 1 2-star for an average rating of 3.85. I read 6 new releases, 2 backlists, 7 from last year. I read 6 physical, 7 audiobooks, 1 mixed media, and 1 ebook. I started 4 series. I continued in 1. I completed 2, which is really exciting. I read 7 standalones and 0 anthologies, and I read 1 companion. I read 1 middle game, 6 YA, and 8 for adult. I read 8 arcs, 3 from Audible, 3 owned, 1 from Everand. I read 3 mystery, 4 romance, 1 sci-fi, 5 fantasy romance, 1 manga or graphic novel, and 1 nonfiction. And yeah, that is where we are. So let's go into the book. So the first book I finished, let me find my book, was a ebook, and I was trying to do a vlog where I was reading some of my ALA books. I just had bought my ticket. So for the new one, which is coming out, which I'm going to in June. So I read The Secret Investigator of Astor Street by Stephanie Morrill. I did not know this was the second book, but this is like a historical murder mystery about a main character who's kind of getting wrapped up in murder mysteries in her town. And I had a fun time with this. I gave this book like 3.75 stars. I eventually will probably go back and read the first one. I think I have that on my Libro FM. But I got this one and I wanted to put it away. So this one I'll probably put into a little free library. And then we did have a book sale at my school, and I was trying to let myself buy some books to like support the school. So I only brought home the books that like I knew I was going to read immediately. The other ones are just graphic novels that I will bring home at the end of the year. I'm just leaving them at my job in case I need something to read during work. So I got, my first book I read was Room to Breathe by Casey West. This is probably my least favorite Casey West that I've read recently. It is her newest YA book, and I struggle with this, and I am normally a big fan of second chance romances. This book, I just did not like seeing them fall apart to fall back in love. This was like a very quintessential romance, but these 2 characters were used to be best friends, and then they were locked in a bathroom together, and they had to kind of deal with their trauma stuff. I liked it. It wasn't a new favorite. I only gave it like 3 stars. Definitely not a new favorite, but I'm happy that I read it because I really do like this author's books. And then the next book I read for the same project was Pugs and Kisses by J.J. Howard. This book I thought was so cute. I gave it like 4.5 stars. You basically follow these 2 characters, and they have 2 pugs, and they wind up meeting at the park, and there's a little bit of deception there. There's like a lie that she tells, which is saying that the dog she's walking is her own. It's really not, but it's such a cute romance, and I really like the animals in the story. I'm a pet lover. I have a German Shepherd, so this one was just very, very cute, and it was like a very, very contemporary-ish story with a dash of romance for middle grade. And it was just really, really cute. I might actually put this in my classroom because I think the kids would like it. And then I read Red Star Rebels by Amy Kaufman. This is a book that I gave 5 stars to, and I have loved everything Amy Kaufman writes. I was a bit hesitant going into this because it is so short. It's like barely 280 pages, but this book packs quite a punch. So you basically follow follow these two characters. They're basically on Mars. Something happens to Mars, and basically Mars is overtaken. And they are two characters on opposite sides of the situation trying to stop this planet from being like overrun or being like taken over. And they are two very opposite characters, and they are kind of forced to work together. And I really like this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It was a fun science effect, like sciencey adventure story. I have loved Amy Kaufman. I think she writes books that are so fast paced. And even though this book is so short, I still felt very, very viscerally connected to the characters. And I think it's like, I normally struggle with I don't struggle with short books, but I often don't feel super connected to the characters, but I really like this one. And I think that if you're looking for a quick sci-fi adventure with a action-packed story, I would definitely pick this one up. But I still love the characters, and that is rare. And then the next book that I read, we start heading into Love You All time, where I was reading some books for Love You All. So yeah, the next book I read was Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and I gave this book two stars. I don't think Rebecca Ross's writing style is for me in this world. I have loved her other books. I have loved her YA books. I have loved her adult books. This world I don't like. I really struggle with Divine Rivals. I was hoping to read a book with gods I would feel more connected, and I didn't. I didn't even bring this book to get signed, but yeah. Anyone wants a copy of Wild Reverence, let me know in the comments, because I can send it to you. Yeah, but gave that 2.2 stars. I probably won't read anything more in that series or anything in her Godverse. And then I finally got to read The Princess Knight by Kate Jacob. I know her. I see her all the time at cons. She actually was supposed to go to Love You All, and then she got sick. Good news, she will be signing at BookCon, and I'm going to BookCon, so I'm going to save this book so I can get it signed from her and I can meet her after I read it. I love this book. This book was so delightful. I will say the last, 50 to 80 pages really was very, very battle focused, and that is just a deterrent for me personally because I struggle with battle books. I almost wish I would have had the audio for this book. This is basically like a Legally Blonde retelling, but basically you follow this character. She sets to marry this prince. This prince tells her, I can't marry you because you are not war focused, and she winds up following him to a military academy, and the story goes from there. I love this book. There was so much rep in here. We have a main character that has anxiety, and we have another protagonist that has chronic pain rep. Own voices both for our author. I love this story. I really want more people to pick it up. I love the magic. I love the system. I love the romantic entanglement that I did not see coming, and I had such a fun time with this book and really am excited to see what this author writes next and gush about her when I see her at BookCon. And then the next book that I read was a audiobook, and that is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I will attach a photo of that book here. Another one of Ashley Poston's magic-ish story, with a dash of magic. So you basically follow this character, and she is a ghostwriter for songs. She's like a songwriter, and she winds up going back home because her mom is dealing with Alzheimer's. A lot of Alzheimer's in the romance verse in this past year, and I have to be honest, I don't love it, but this book really did hit for me, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I did like it. And you basically have this character that's hearing a voice in her head, and she's kind of having to figure out why she has this voice in her head. Why can they talk telepathically? And it is a romance. I really like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I met Ashley Poston at Love You All, and she signed one of my other books, but I enjoyed this. If you were kind of burnt out on the autism, not autism, the Alzheimer's rep, maybe don't read this one immediately, but I had a fun time with it. It was more hopeful than harmful. When I read Say You'll Remember Me, I was just depressed. This book was really, really uplifting. I liked the characters, and it was a fun time. It's just not my favorite by the author. And then I wound up, when I was coming home, I wound up reading Across a Vanishing Sky by Catherine Cowles. I will attach a photo of that book here. On her ARC team, but I didn't get an ARC this time. I got this one from NetGalley. I love this book so much. This follows Dex, and he winds up moving back to a small town, and our main character moves to the small town in hopes that she can find what happened to her best friend who went missing in this town, and Dex has to cross some boundaries to kind of help her, and I am so excited for this series. I love this book. Perhaps it is my new favorite, and I am so excited. I just got the audiobook. I will definitely be re-listening to this one before July when we get book 2, but I love this book. Gave it 5 stars. So excited. And then I had a week off from work, so I was reading a bunch of books. And then I also read The Thorn Queen by Sasha Payton Smith. I gave this book 5 stars. This is the final book in the Rose Bargain series. This is another Fae-ish story, basically Bridgerton meets The Selection. And I like this book a lot more. We did have a little bit more Fae and magic when The Rose Bargain was not that. I really devoured this book. I read it so quickly. I actually have a pretty special edition coming in July. So I will keep this on my shelf until that happens. And so thank you to my friend Kari, because her husband got me this arc. I love this book. I thought it was perfect, and I'm definitely in my Bridgerton vibes currently. So this book really did work. I was reading this while I was watching Bridgerton, and it was such a perfect book. So yeah, love this book. I'm really happy I picked up the duology, and I'm happy that we got a little bit more magic as we went on in the story. And then I wound up listening to A Victim at Valentine's, which was a quick mystery book, a cozy mystery. I will attach a photo of that book here. For this book to read over Valentine's Day, and it worked out perfectly because I was reading it as I was commuting back home. But this is basically set in the secret bookcase, and this is a Valentine's Day party. We are inching closer to the overarching mystery in this. It really wasn't the focus, the overarching mystery, but we did have connections, and I gave this book 4 stars for review. And then the next book I read was Stolen Midnights by Catherine Quinn, another Bridgerton-esque story, which really worked for me. So you have a character who on their 18th birthday, they've all been gifted with a gift, and then you have a thief who steals our main character's gift. And they are kind of forced to team up to work together with unexpected results. This was an unexpected series. This is going to be a series, so I will warn you, the cliffhanger is pretty intense, but I really did like this. I loved both characters. I will say the ending felt a little bit rushed to me, but other than that, it was a perfect book, and I'm really excited to see what this author writes next. I have to go back and read her backlist. She has a new book coming out in August, which I really want to read, and I had a fun time with this and gave this book 5 stars. If you're looking for books with a dash more magic, so like Thorn Queen, the Rose Garden had almost no magic. This had a nice bit of magic. This had serious magic. So yeah, I really like this one. I gave this book 5 stars. And then I read Angelica and the Bear Prince by Trina Young. This is a book all about burnout, and I think that this is a really important book for middle school kids to read when you're struggling and you kind of like feel like you're overwhelmed. I really did like this book. I gave this book 3.75 stars. I might put it in my classroom, but I also might put it on my Pango. And that is where we are with that. And then I read The Body and the Book Fair by Ellie Alexander. This was another series that I finished. It's the last of the Secret Bookcase Mystery series, where the whole series wrapped up. I will attach a photo of that book here. This was a book that I really did enjoy. I think it's still giving me a 4 star. I really did like this series. I'm really excited to keep reading and reading more in this author, but I had a fun time with this book, and I was happy that I was able to wrap up the series. And then the last physical book that I read in the month of February was A Vow and Vengeance by Jacqueline Rodriguez. I'm still battling with my battle about how I want to read fantasy romances, and I just don't know the answer, to be very honest. It really just depends if it's more a romance heavy book or more of a fantasy heavy book, where I kind of lie. I think that this book, if I was reading it, I would have given it 3 stars. If I was listening to it, I probably would have given it 4. So I'm going to give it like 3.5 stars. I like this book. I thought the tarot magic was super interesting. I just felt a little bit disconnected from the characters, and that is why it only got like a 3.25 stars. But I would read book 2. I would reread book 1 as an audio to, like, you know, judge my enjoyment. But I did like this. I just didn't feel connected to the characters, and I kept getting disconnected from the story. That is why it's only got a 3 star. I did like the magic system. I like the characters. I just didn't feel that connected to them, and that was like kind of what took me away from it. And then my last book that I listened to was the Stranger Thing World Upside Down, the companion book that they wrote leading into season 3, and I just listened to it because I was on a Stranger Things high for the first half of this year. I will attach a photo of that book here. Really hope we get like another one that kind of goes through the rest of the series, because I thought that the elements of this book were so interesting. I think we are getting a Target exclusive in May, so I will be keeping an eye out for that and probably picking it up. I hope that there is an audiobook, but if there's not, I'll probably just grab it and read it regardless. But yeah, so let's also talk through those TVs and movie shows and stuff that I did in the month of February. I keep saying I'm going to do it, and then I just plain forgot. So, I did a whole Bridgerton rewatch. So, I watched Bridgerton Season 1, Bridgerton Season 2, Bridgerton Season 3, and then Bridgerton Season 4. I pretty much finished Season 4, but I finished Season 4 on March 1st. I rewatched Legally Blonde because I wanted to know the vibes going into Princess Night. I'm really happy that I did because I think it did increase my enjoyment a little bit. And then I watched The America's Next Top Model, that documentary that I watched. And then I also watched Ruby Red-Handed, Who Stole Dorothy's Slippers. So that was all that I watched in... Oh, and then I also watched a lot of the Olympics in February. A ton of the Olympics. Like, pretty much the whole month. That's what I was watching. But yeah, I'm really happy that I got to rewatch Bridgerton. So yeah, that is where I am with my reading wrap-up for the month of February. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite book, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, book friends.